See. I won't be able to see. Okay, but I can't see on mine.
If you just refresh, it'll be there. There you go.
Cool.
And then just make sure you've muted your. Yeah, that's fine. Just enter studio. And you'll see.
Cool. Excellent. Alhamdulillah. Ready? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Amma ba'du fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس صدق الله العظيم. Alhamdulillah, my dear respected brothers, sisters in Islam, and those that are listening online. A fadila of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we're coming to a close and a sad ending in the month of Ramadan. For us, we've been going through the 4 parts. We've broken up untying the knots on how to destroy sihr. If sihr is done on you. In the first, second, third parts that we've covered, we've gone over the sihr that is done where something is read over you, ain that is done upon you, hasad that is done upon you, how to break that. We've also talked about the definitions of sihr. We also talked about the symptoms of one who has sihr. If you've gone through the medical checkups, and again, sihr is black magic. If it's been done upon you, how you can tell, what are some of the symptoms of knowing, and what are the symptoms of finding out whether sihr is done on you or not. The other aspect that we covered was the origin of black magic. We touched on it last week very briefly on the actual understanding of Harut and Marut, 2 angels, malaikas, that were sent down to an area known as Babylon. And when they came down to this area of Babylon, they were there to teach about sihr, to the people, because the jinns had knowledge about this, and they were sent to teach how to break away from the conditions of sihr. The people wanted to get an understanding, they wanted to know how it's done, and then how to reverse it. But again, like every single society has, where the sihr, those that had bad intentions, they then took it and started using it for something that was not right. It's been carrying on from the beginning all the way up until now, and it will carry on all the way up until the day of judgment, until Yawm al-Qiyamah happens. The other aspect that we talked about, and this is something that is very important for us to understand and for us to know, that when someone engages in sihr, when someone engages in doing taweez, whether they wear the taweez thinking it's a protection, when someone wears these amulets around their neck or around their hands, when someone has it done for the sake of wanting to get married, or someone does it because they want a change in business. And as I mentioned last week and the week before and the week before that, that is actually shirk billah. It takes you outside of the fold of Islam, because when you engage in this type of practice, then you are putting reliance on the thing that needs Allah for him to say, yes, allow it to happen. So you are actually committing shirk billah, thinking that that magic or that sahir, the one who's doing the magic, has some sort of power, has some sort of strength when in reality it only happens by the permission of Allah. And if Allah allows it to happen, then we have to understand that this is a test that we are going through from Allah Rabbul Izzah Rabbul Alameen. It is a test and only a test. And Allah has given us the cure and He's given us the ayahs in the Quran for us to be able to destroy this sihr. Right? Now, we covered the story behind the Ayatul Kursi. And if you remember, when I was talking about the Ayatul Kursi has many fadila, has many benefits. But the Ayatul Kursi, for the benefits to be to have effect upon you, they have to be used in the right manner. For example, if a doctor prescribes a medicine, you have to utilize that medication based off of the prescription that the doctor has given you. With Ayatul Kursi, we read it after every fard salah. It is something that is told that we should read this after every single fard salah. And if one reads it after every fard salah, then the only thing that stands between him, her, and entering into paradise is death itself. That is for entry into Jannah. But also, the Ayatul Kursi, if recited every single night in one's home before going to sleep, or even if you're traveling. If you're traveling and you're in a hotel, if you recite Ayatul Kursi every single night, then what we learn from the story that I talked about with regard to the thief and Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala an, is that it will prevent shayateen, it will prevent Iblis, it will prevent the shaitan, the Satan, from entering inside of your home. And in the story with Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala an, he was stealing and taking from Bayt al-Mal, the collection of the community in terms of the wealth. But when a jinn enters inside, or shaitan enters inside of your home, a bad jinn enters inside of your home, they don't just steal the aspects of wealth, what we think of wealth, right? They actually can steal away your peace. They can take away your peace of mind. The aspects of understanding the sakina that you're supposed to be feeling inside of your home can all be taken away. But when you recite Ayatul Kursi every night, it protects you from the shayateen entering inside of your home. The second aspect, reciting Surah Falaq and Surah Nas. And we went through the sunnah way of how the Prophet ﷺ goes to sleep at night. He would go and he would sit on his bed, and then he would wipe off his bed, the covers that he was going to be on. He would wipe them off, and then he would recite Ayatul Kursi. In one narration, he would recite the Mu'addatain, which is Surah Falaq and Surah Nas, 3 times. In another narration, he would recite Ayatul Kursi, Surah Ikhlas, Surah Falaq, and Surah Nas 3 times each, right? And then he would blow on his hands and he would rub his body, right? And he would rub the areas that were around him, and then he would go to sleep by laying on his right side. That will take away the effects of the minor sihr and the minor hasad and ayn. And subhanAllah, recently I was hearing where a person who's in the work of da'wah was talking about how the evil eye doesn't just happen because someone is just staring at you, right? Oh, someone is staring at you and they're admiring the clothes that you have on, or admiring the way you look, or admiring your health, or admiring something. And they said, this doesn't happen. And I want to make it very clear, unequivocally, that unfortunately, I believe he misspoke. I haven't had a chance to speak to him. I will contact him and I'll speak to him, but he misspoke. And the reason why we know he misspoke is because the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam clearly says in a hadith that when you're staring at someone and you're looking at them with admiration and envy or even jealousy, that his words were, are you trying to kill this man through the ayn, through the black magic, through the sihr, or in this occasion, through the evil eye, which is ayn, or the hasad that you have upon this person. So looking at it from that perspective, and you know what's crazy? And I dislike talking about and having to prove through science that this actually exists and that this is a reality in terms of giving someone an evil eye and having an effect on them, a profound effect on them, where it can affect them physically and it can affect them health wise, right? And it can even affect something that they have. But if you look at the military in the US, the Department of Justice or whatever it is, the Ministry of Defense equivalent here in the UK, they have been doing a study for the past, now it's 27 years now, or a little bit longer. They have been doing a study called the study of noetics. And this study, and you can look it up, this study of noetics is where they have taken someone on the East Coast of America and another person on the West Coast of America in California, and I think the other person was in New York in the actual lab, or in Pennsylvania. They would take these two individuals, have them sit inside of a room. One individual would be dressed up and looking very nice. Another individual on the other side could only, the person that was dressed up was sitting and he was just facing a camera. The person on the other side would be looking at the screen, and the person on the East Coast could not see the person on the West Coast, but the West Coast person could see the person on the East Coast. And every single day for at least 1 week, in one study it was 4 hours, in another study it was 6 hours per day. That person on the West Coast would be looking at the screen and constantly having negative thoughts and thinking about how handsome or how beautiful the person is, how nice their clothes are, and all of this aspect, all of this negative thoughts constantly about the person on the other side. And they saw a negative effect where a person would get sick on the other side that was on the West Coast. And you can look this up. This is a study that has been done, and it's called the study of noetics, right? And that aspect, if you look further on, there are studies that have been done where they will take the recitation of Quran and they will look at the composition of water, which you can look up inside of a telescope, right? Not a telescope, sorry, inside of a microscope. They would look into a microscope and they would use foul language and other type of language and things that were negative, and they would see that the structure of the actual water particle would be so discombobulated that it would be all over the place. It would be in a radical shape. But then they started to do certain things where they were saying positive words, and also even in some instances with the recitation of Quran, where they would look at under a microscope and they would see these beautiful structures that would be made within the water particles. They would look at snowflakes. They would then freeze those water particles, and they would see, you know how you have these beautiful snowflakes that have this beautiful geometrical pattern? They would find that in those that were being used with positive language and positive thoughts. And subhanAllah, especially with the Quran, when they tried it with the Quran, they noticed that some of the most beautiful geometrical patterns were built. And again, you can look this up online. And what happened in the healthcare industry, because I'm also in the healthcare industry, what happened was the healthcare industry, knowing what is happening, they started to adopt a manner in which you will walk into certain medical centers, you will walk into certain health centers or hospitals, and you will see these positive words that are all over the walls of these hospitals. You know, you have hope, you will make it. You know what I mean? Good morning. There is always the better side. There is a cure. You will be cured. They write this all throughout the walls so that as the person is walking subliminally, those positive messages are being entered inside of one's mind as they are walking. And if you look, subhanallah, if you look at the calligraphy of the ancient times, this is just recent, but if you look at the calligraphy that was done in the masjids and on the masjids walls, they would put the 99 names of Allah around. Even though the Prophet ﷺ said, don't decorate the masjids. But now, what they've been doing is they've been putting these things on the wall. But my point on this aspect, because people say, "Oh, I wear the kul," you know what I mean, the Surah Falak or Surah Nas on a pendant or a necklace where the whole surah is written out, or I will have it written out and then we will have it covered inside of a leather pouch, and then I put it on because I'll have Ayatul Kursi worn on me. I want to give you guys an example, and then we'll get into the practical aspect of breaking sihr. So there was once a man who was extremely sick in a town. Extremely sick. He went to every single doctor that he possibly could go to. Every doctor he could possibly go to. And they would give him something to do or something to drink or something to eat. He never got well. And then finally, someone told him that there is an individual who is an expert, and that individual that is an expert lives in such and is in such and such mountain where he worships there. You need to go and see them, and they're an expert. So the man goes to this expert, and when he goes, he sits down. The doctor, he says, it's a very simple fix for what you have. And he says, "Oh, doctor, can you please tell me what I need to do?" He said, "Let me write it down for you so that you don't forget." The doctor writes down the prescription. He writes down the prescription and he hands it to the man. The man goes home, running home because he's happy. I finally have the prescription for me to get better. But then it occurs to him when he gets home, he's like, wait a minute. What if I lose this prescription? Because I haven't memorized all the prescription. What if I lose a prescription? So he goes and he makes a copy of the prescription. And then he says, wait a minute. What if I lose this and this? Something happens to my home, or, something burns down. So he goes to someone that can literally photocopy, just starts writing the prescription, and he gets hundreds of these. And as he's coming back, he sees people with the same illness that he has, and he says to them, I have the actual cure. I've got the prescription for the cure. And he gives them a copy of it. So each of them take a copy of it. He goes home and he's got the prescription. And then he realizes, wait a minute. I need to have a reminder. You know how we put reminders on our phone? He says, I need to have a reminder. So then he goes and he blows up the prescription and he makes it something like this. And then he hangs it on the wall so that whenever he comes downstairs, he looks at it and he says, oh, I need to take my medicine, right? And he puts it on various different parts of his home just so he can remember to take this prescription, because he's been sick for so long, he's desperately trying to get better. But the odd thing is, some of the others that he's given the prescription to, they start to get better, but he remains sick. And his sickness doesn't go away. Do you know who that man is? Or who that man was? Can anyone think about it? That man could be me, you, sisters, it could be you. The doctor that wrote the prescription is the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The prescription that he wrote or that he gave was the Quran and various verses of the Quran. And the one who ultimately revealed the Quran and whose word is the Quran is Allah. Now, the reason why that person wasn't getting healed was because he was so busy putting the prescription around his neck so he doesn't forget, making copies of it, hanging it on his walls, thinking that that prescription, just because it's written and it's there, is going to take care of him, while at the same time not using the prescription. But those others that were getting better, they were using the prescription, not just keeping a copy of it in a shelf or on a wall. And that is what we have gotten to. And this is why so much sihr is affecting so many people. I mean, going from 4 to 8 to 14 is crazy in a matter of 3 weeks. And there's a hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that as the time will go and as the people will go further away from deen, the increase of sihr will continue, and it will increase more and more as the time goes. We also talked about, and we have a very, very clear understanding of how to defeat the actual black magic and how to destroy atawis and how to protect ourselves and do ruqya upon ourselves. Constantly read Falak and Nas 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening. You're protected. And then another prescription that the ulama give, which inshallah I haven't written down with the brothers. Amar, I think you took some notes and you sent them out. I will look at it again, and then I will correct some things that were missing. But also the recitation of Surah Baqarah once every 40 days in your home. Once every 40 days in your home. We talked about the story behind the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how someone had tried to do sihr on him. It did not affect his mind. He did not go majnoon, because then that would contradict the Quran, but it affected him externally from the physical side, where he felt hot, he felt, lethargic a little bit, right? But we also were given the treatment on how, when they found how they had taken I didn't have a date palm leaf, so they had taken a date palm leaf, they had taken his hair and a comb, they had put it with sap and glued it to the date palm leaf, and on the comb, on his hair, on Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's hair, the Sahir had tied 11 knots on that hair of on Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's hair. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the ayahs of the Quran, Surah Falak and Surah Nas, 11 knots, 11 ayahs are revealed. And when they were revealed, the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam recites, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ, and then he undoes one knot, blows on it, and it comes undone. مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقِ, and then it comes undone, right? Until he gets done with all 11 ayahs. And the Prophet of Allah, when he did this, he said immediately the effects of sihr were removed. Now, we talked about doing practical aspects, right? We talked about the treatment methods as well. First treatment method, if they don't have, and by the way, this is why a lot of times people say throw away your nails, you know what I mean? Make sure you dispose of your nails. Make sure you don't keep strands of hair. Sisters, when you're combing your hair, take the strands of hair, ball it up, and throw it. Either you could put it in the toilets and flush it down, or you could just dispose of it where people don't have access to it. That's why they say that, brothers, sisters, same thing for everyone, right? So that people cannot take something of your hair and do sihr on it. But if they don't have your hair, then what they do is they will come through and they will make something like this. This is wrapped in wax paper. There's a string with 11 knots, right? And inside of it, when I open it, there's going to be a triangular grid, right? And within that, they will sometimes put the letters of the Arabic alphabet. They will also take and they will put some numbers that correlate with some ayahs, right? And then on top of it, they will put down something like this. Again, this is not a real taweez, so please don't be scared of it or whatever. But it will look something similar to this, okay? So you see the grid. A lot of times the grid is made on an 11 by 11 grid, or the grid is made on a 7 by 7 grid or a 3 by 3 grid, okay? The most common is either a 3 by 3 grid or a 7 by 7 grid. Sometimes they do an 11 by 11 grid. And then within that, they write certain numbers that correlate and relate to the surah and the actual ayah that they're wanting to do. For example, in Surah Baqarah, one of the ayahs that they use, and it has to be done in correlation with another one. So I'm not going to give the second ayah because I don't want people to go and start trying to do this themselves, and take you outside of the fold of Islam. Where it is خَتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. For those of you that understand Arabic, know and understand how crazy that ayah is if someone tries to put that on you. Khatam Allah. That may Allah completely do khatam. What's the right word of khatam? Like finish the faculties of ala qulubihim, the heart, wa ala sam'ihim, of hearing, wa ala abasarihim, the aspect of seeing, so that they will be blinded to the truth. They will be blinded, or they will become deafened by the truth that is being told to them, and their hearts will be completely destroyed and sealed. And a lot of people do this, you will find, in order to control certain people to gain things out of them. And then on the top, you will find that this sihr has been done. And again, it's just scribbles, but it will be written in Arabic, that it is done upon, and then it will be the person's name, right? The son of, and then the mother's name will be given. The mother's name will be given, not the father's name. And subhanAllah, I don't want where someone accuses me of certain things, but if you look at people that practice sihr, some call it cabal and all this other stuff, if you look at the people from amongst the Bani Israel, right? Because that's where in the time of Sulaiman alayhi salam and the time of Solomon, after his time, there was a lot of sihr that was done. In the time of Musa alayhi salam and the time of Moses, there was a lot of sihr that was done. And you will find that the people of Bani Israel, they do the kunya, they look at the lineage. That lineage is taken from the mother's side. So if you want to be counted from amongst Bani Israel, it is the mother from a particular faith or not? And then you will be considered a particular faith, even if she's married, an atheist or a Christian or whatever it is, right? You will find that if your mother is of a particular religion from amongst the Bani Israel of Yahud, right? Then you are identified from your mother's side. So they write down from the mother's side. Okay? If you find yourself that you have a taweez done, we will talk about the physical method of treatment in a bit. If you find yourself, again, a physical tying of knots, we will talk about this, but this is very simple to break. If you find that both have been done with a grid, we will discuss, inshallah, in the next 15 minutes how to break this, okay? And also, we've talked about the recitation and aspects. And also, one thing that I could not get was a ring, okay? They will use a silver ring, and it will always be silver. No other type of metal. It will be silver. It won't be steel, because steel rusts, and once the rust starts to catch on, it will start to decay, and the sihr gets broken once it decays. So they will use a metal ring, a silver ring, and on the silver ring they will etch, and again they will do a diamond, right? And then they will have numbers on each of the four sides. I've got a pen, so let me show you. So they will do a diamond like this, and the numbers will be etched on this side, and certain things will be written on the top and the bottom, similar to this. Okay, similar to this. You guys see this, right? And then around the ring, the bottom of the ring that goes on the bottom portion, they will also have some sort of sihr that is etched around it. If you find something like this and you have a ring like this, we will go through how you destroy that aspect as well, because that's a secondary step. So in order for you, if this sihr is on you physically, there are ayahs that I talked about that we are going to go through, right? That you should take 5 liters of water. I have not taken, the reason why they say 5 liters, you can take 1 liter, you can take whatever, however much you need, right? But you should take the water, right? And again, this is a good bottle. I don't know why I'm wasting it. But you take it should be in a bucket, right? And you take it and you place the water inside of the bucket. And there are different methodologies of what to do with the sihr. So one is utilizing of the actual water. I don't know if who. No. I don't want to knock it down. Alhamdulillah, it didn't go on my laptop. But someone doesn't want me to teach this. And don't worry, the jinns are not out tonight. I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's water inside of here. Okay. So you place the water in front of you. You will take olive oil, place it in front of you. You will take black seed oil, place it in front of you. Take the honey, place it in front of you. If you have Sihr leaves are from the lot tree. You take those and you take water and you boil the Sihr leaves as if you're making tea. Okay? You boil the Sihr leaves as if you're making tea. Once that is done, you will see it changing in color and it will be brown. You will take that which you have done and you'll put it in front of you. Okay? And then once you've put it in front of you, once you've put it in front of you, then you will recite the ayahs of the Quran. And we talked about Surah Al-Fatiha and the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha. When Surah Al-Fatiha was recited, it was done when there was one of the tribal leaders who had a sting from a, sorry, I'm going to move this back because I don't want it to fall on there. It was done by either a scorpion or a snake. However, that ailment, that sickness that was given, it was completely removed once the Surah Fatiha was done. So you're going to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Some narrations and some of the Raqis, they say 7 times. Some say 1 time, some say 3 times, right? So you will sit over it. All of these things will be in front of you, okay? And then you will recite. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. It's over it. Then you will read from Surah Baqarah, right? And in Surah Baqarah, you have the ayahs, which is وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ على الملكين ببابل هاروت وماروت, all the way till the end of the ayah, right? Then you will recite the Ayat al-Kursi. Afterwards, and remember, Ayat al-Kursi, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum, la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm, until the end, okay? So, Surah Al-Fatiha, first surah, which everyone should know. The second ayah that you recite is Surah Baqarah, verse 102, which starts out with وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ. The third verse that you recite is Ayat al-Kursi. The ayah number is 255. 255 is the ayah number, and you recite this. Then you recite Surah Araf. Okay? Surah Al-Araf, you're going to recite some of the Raqis. They say from ayah number 117. Oh, sorry. They say ayah 117 to 122. And then you're going to recite Surah Taha. Some say from Surah Taha, you read from ayah number 67 to 69. I was taught 67 to 70, right? Because you talk about Rabbi, where it's the Rabb of Musa wa Harun, Rabbi Musa wa Harun, okay? And then you're going to read Surah Kafirun, Surah Al-Kafirun, which is Surah number 109, the whole Surah, okay? Then you're going to recite Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul huwallahu ahad. This is Surah number 112, 112. You're going to recite this 3 times. Then you're going to recite Surah Falaq, which is Surah number 113, and you're going to recite it 3 times. Then you're going to recite Surah Nas, Again, you're going to recite that 3 times. Once you have completed the recitation over these things, right? Now you're going to utilize the methodology. And again, this is for the physical sihr, right? And also the bodily sihr. It goes for both. And then we're going to look at the second method, which is the easier method. But once you've done this, now this water has been read upon. Okay? Once this water has been read upon, you take this water and this becomes your base water, right? So this becomes your base. And then you can add this onto another bucket of water, right? You can add a little bit, at least a cup of it, onto a bucket of water. And when you add it onto that bucket of water, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to do ghusl. The fard ghusl, the actions that we take of the fard ghusl, which is where you wash your hands, you have the niyyah, and your niyyah should be, oh Allah, I am making ghusl, and I am asking that this ghusl be used to remove the effects of sihr upon me. Then you first wash your hands and then you go through the fard of ghusl. First fard of ghusl, you gargle. Sunnah is 3 times, but minimum 1 time you gargle. Okay? Then you take the water, and it's the bucket. You take it and you snuff the water until it reaches the top of your bone where it burns a little bit, right? And then you wash your whole body from left to right. From right to left. You wash your whole body, making sure each and every body part has been touched by the water, even down to the roots of your hair, the crevices inside of your ears, inside of your belly button. All of that should now have been touched with the water. Okay? Once you have done that, you then, when you get outside of your bath, now again, you can just do this aspect and you're good, right? You're supposed to carry on doing this for 3 days. After you get out of your bath, you then take the olive oil that you've got. You take the oil, rub it on your hands, and you apply it all throughout your whole body. Okay? You do this every day for 3 days. It can be done for 7 days. Some say it can be done for 11 days, whatever it is, until you feel better and you feel the effects of sihr coming out. But the main thing is you have to have yaqeen that this will take away the effects of sihr. The second aspect, which I don't have the sidr leaves, I didn't boil the leaves. But remember, I said you take the sidr leaves, a minimum of 7 sidr leaves. Make sure they're wet leaves, right? You get sidr leaves that are dried, they don't have the right effect. But if you take those that are not dried, that are still wet, you take them and you boil them. That water, you would have it here, and you would boil it, and it would become a sidr water. And what you do is every morning on an empty stomach, you drink this on a daily basis for 3, 7, 11, or 13 days. Okay? That is with the sidr leaves. Then, and we just explained with regards to the olive oil, then also with regards to the black seed and honey. So the black seed oil and honey, you should mix them together, and it should become, you should take like warm water, and some people will take the sidr water. You can do that also. But you take warm water and you place the honey and the black seed oil inside 1 tablespoon of it. You put it inside of the actual water, mix it, right? And make sure it's stirred and that it becomes golden. And then you drink it on an empty stomach every single morning. And you drink it while it's warm, right? So that it's easy on the stomach. By the way, sisters that are pregnant, you do not drink this. You don't drink the black seed oil because it could cause a miscarriage, right? And with children also, avoid the actual children. But you drink this on a daily basis, and you can drink this for however many days. Like I said, 3, 7, 11 or 13. All right. Once that's done, that is the actual aspects of breaking the sihr that has been done, in which you don't see any of the tawizas and the amulets. SubhanAllah. Next, how to destroy the actual tawizas. Let me move this out to the side. I never thought I would bring props to a masjid. Ajib. Right. Sihr number 1, which was done on the Prophet ﷺ. The 11 knots that are tied. What you do, normally I have a box cutter or knife that I normally use, or like a scissor that I have, but I've got wire cutters. What you do is you take this and you cut this portion. Can you see this? This is the first knot. I'm at the point where the knot is, right? You cut this. It's not going to work on with this. Oh, if someone has a scissor, you can bring it. That would be good. But you cut. Oh, it worked. Alhamdulillah. You cut this, right? So this is done. But as you cut it, you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. When you're at the first knot, you say قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. And then you do this, and the knot has opened. Okay? You go to the second knot. And while you are doing this, you recite min sharri ma khalaq, right? And you blow over this after you've cut this. No, I don't have a scissor, but anyway. So you guys get the gist of it. So you say Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, and then you come to the second one, which is min sharri ma khalaq. You take this off, and then you undo the knot. Then you go to the third, fourth, fifth, until you've read Surah Falaq and Surah Nas, each of the ayahs of Surah Falaq and Surah Nas. Okay? Once this is done, then the sihr is off of you. Alhamdulillah. Number 2. And again, and what you do with the string, you can burn the string, right? So it's completely burned. But once the knots are gone, it is completely destroyed. Second aspect of sihr, right? If you've got sihr that has been done, you will normally find it like this. It'll be wrapped, and it'll be tightly wrapped, right? Then you'll find it inside of wax paper. This is wax paper, okay? And it'll be wrapped, and then you will have not a knotted string, but it'll be a regular string that will be wrapped around. And then it will be placed inside of a leather pouch. You'll find it in a leather pouch, or it will be placed inside of date palm leaf, whatever it is. You come in, you cut the leather, right? Once the leather is cut, you open it up. And once you open it up, and sometimes they will use cotton, by the way, they will use cotton, right? If it's cotton, you bundle the cotton up and you put it inside of the water. Now, what you need to do in the water is you need to recite, before putting it inside of the water, you need to recite 3 times Surah Ikhlas, Surah Falaq, and Surah Nas. So you would say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Then you come to قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. Each of those surahs 3 times. Then you can either 3 times blow on it, or you fake spit where you go 3 times over the actual water. Bury, if it's cotton or if it's wax paper, they normally don't write it on the wax paper. You bury it, right? You put it in the water. Then the second thing that you do, you open up, again, you read after the recitation is done, so you don't have to worry. You will have the paper with the ink on it. You place it inside of the water, okay? And what I do is I will take and I start to rub the ink off. Do you see that? I start to rub the ink off while it's inside of the water, right? And then I tear each of the parts so that the numbers and everything are gone, okay? And then you do this until it's completely gone. And then what you do is you take it out once you've torn it apart. You take it out and you let it dry. Once it's dried, you then burn it. You then burn it, and then the sihr is broken and it's gone. Okay? Number two, second aspect, we've gone through this. So this one was where there's a grid that is made, and then they've got numbers, which are typically ayahs. You'll see 786, and then you'll see, the surah number and the ayah number. Then you have certain ones, and may Allah bless my daughter, Bichari, she was doing this when we were rushing out. You'll find another one where it'll be tied with a string, and then it'll be like an origami type paper, right? And within the origami type paper, what you will see, like I've shown, I haven't written the letters or anything because I don't want to be held accountable with Allah. But what you'll see is certain letters of the Arabic letters, but they will form a certain word or certain things from the actual Quran, right? And they will also have certain names of the jinn, certain jinns that they used to call upon, and certain shayateen that you used to call upon. Same thing. You take this, you open it up, you bury it inside of the water that has been read on with Surah Falak, Surah Ikhlas, Falak, and Nas 3 times. You bury it inside, you rub it off, and then you tear it apart, and then you burn it, right? Once it's dried. And then that takes away the effects of the sihr. Now, coming to the third one, and I'm sorry I'm rushing through this. The ring that I was talking about. This is probably one of the strongest types of sihr that is done. When it's inscribed onto a piece of silver. Okay? If you find the ring, don't put it on. Number one. Okay? When you find it, you need to hold it with something, right? Like a plier or grip or whatever, needle nose plier. Then you take the ring. So imagine this is the top part of the ring. Okay, you wear it, and then the bottom part is skinny, and the top part is going to be in a square, and you'll see this diamond shape. You hold from the bottom of where that goes onto the bottom of your thing. The ring that forms the circle. You hold from the bottom, then you take a file. I could only find a saw. It's a file. A file that where you a metal file. So you take it and you rub it and you keep filing it up until the point where you could hear I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. So you do that up until the point where all the writing has been completely eliminated. All the writing has been completely eliminated. And remember, it's not just going to be on the front facing. Someone that is a strong sahir, he will also do it on the back portion, and it will typically be a piece of silver plate that will then be soldered on to a silver ring. They will inscribe on the inside of the ring, they will inscribe on the outer loop of the ring, they will inscribe on the plate that is on top of the ring and on the bottom of the ring, if they're a good sahir. What you do is you scrub off, you rub off until all the writing has been taken off on the front. You then scrub it off on the back side, and also on the inside, you scrub it off. On the back side of the plate, typically it's not on the soldered side, so they typically stay away from it. But if they've done it, you can also solder the areas that are exposed, because the area that's not exposed, that has been soldered on, has already been burned. So that part of the sihr is gone, right? Once that is done, you then take a cutter, right? A silver cutter or any kind of cutter, and you cut the back portion of the ring, because remember, you're breaking the knot. When you break the back portion of the ring and it comes off, does anyone have a ring here? No one has a ring? Don't worry, I'm not going to put any kind of voodoo inside of it. Can I get one? Can I get it, please? So you take the back portion of the ring and you cut the back portion and you pull it apart, right? Thank you. Oh, it's a silver one too, right? Alhamdulillah, it has no inscription on it. I hope you didn't come on camera. You don't mind me joking around with you. Okay. So you'll see. So say this is the bottom, and say this is where the plate is sitting. Right. It'll normally be like this. It'll be like a rectangle plate that sits. So now you've filed off this portion. You file off this portion and this portion. Then you file on the bottom because normally it'd be written on this bottom portion. You file that down. Then you take it and then you come and you clip it here, and then once it's broken, you pull it apart and you read Surah Falak and Surah Nas 3 times each once you have cut it and you're breaking it apart. Okay? And that will take away the effects of the sihr on the ring. Okay? On the metal aspect. You guys get this? Everyone got it? If you want, I can type out notes and I can, inshallah, everyone, can you do me a favor? You guys have a channel, right? Can you go and give Mulana Hamza, can someone stand outside and just take their phone numbers of anyone who wants this? You can take the phone number, and what we will do is I will write up a document, inshallah. If I can do it within Ramadan, I'll do it within Ramadan. But if I can't do it within Ramadan, I'll do it after Ramadan. But if you leave your phone number, what we can do is we can text this to you. And if you want to be part of the Masjid announcement group, or if you have questions that you want to ask directly, then you can get on. For the brothers, it's called Get Serious with Allah group, and for the sisters, it's Answers from the Quran group. You can get onto those groups as well. For sisters, it's only sisters are on the sisters group, and only brothers for the brothers group. You can get on those groups. And Shabana, if you can do me a favor, if you can take the numbers down for anyone who wants this, we can go ahead and give it to you, and you can do this yourself. You don't need to be an alim or a scholar. You just have to have yaqeen with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to have yaqeen with Allah. We've got 1 minute remaining, or 2 minutes remaining, because this is 1 minute behind. So I'm going to go ahead and start off on this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us. Also, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and every one of you that have come to attend these programs in the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you khair and barakah. Those that are volunteers, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them immense khair and barakah. Give you guys Jannat al-A'la, Jannat al-Firdaus, for the amount of khidmah that you guys have done and still carry on doing during the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and every person that has been affiliated with the masjid, that is given towards the masjid, that is working towards the masjid, working for the masjid. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and every one of those that even support the masjid and support the programs. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you khair, barakah, remove any difficulties. If you have sihr, may Allah remove that sihr from all of us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to carry on with the programs throughout the year for as long as we live, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And please make your dua. We've got 1 minute left. Make your dua of breaking fast, because it may be Laylatul Qadr tonight. We don't know. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.